my darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm reviewing The Sword in the Stone by T.H. White. It is book one in the Once and Future King series, and it follows a young King Arthur as he grows up and eventually becomes King of England. So these are the childhood tales of Arthur as he's being tutored by Merlin. There is lots of magic and crazy episodic adventures. There's a lot of scenes where Arthur is being turned into animals and has run-ins with knights and bandits in the forest, and it's pretty fun and entertaining. It's a children's book, the first one. The rest of the series after this follows Arthur as he's older and apparently takes a much more mature tone, although I didn't get to those. This is just book one. So, these are medieval fantasy stories, and the main character that we're following is Arthur, although he goes by the name of Wart. He's a young boy of around 10, I think, when the book starts, and then we see him go through basically puberty and become young adult. He is tutored by Merlin, the famous wizard, and Merlin is interesting because he's aging backwards. So the first day that Arthur meets Merlin is also the last day that Merlin's ever going to see Arthur, which is kind of interesting. And so Merlin knows all this stuff about the future and is making references to cars and Nazis, and stuff that obviously Wart in this medieval world has never heard of. Merlin's a fun character because he's doing crazy magic. I mean, he can talk to animals, and he frequently turns Arthur into other animals so he can learn more about how different societies operate, like how birds are developed as a group, how fish operate. The animal changing in two parts at very first I thought was interesting, but the more it kept happening, the more I was like, okay, I'm so over this, and it happens a lot. So, not my favorite part. My favorite bits that were more grounded in actual medieval society, seeing Arthur and his family, where he's got this, I think he's an adopted brother in Sir Kay, and Sir Ector who's taken him on. So Arthur is being raised by Sir Ector, who is the local lord who has a castle and is in charge of this small region. And Ector has a son, Sir Kay, and Wart has been adopted and is being taken care of by Sir Ector, but he's also not Sir Ector's son, and so there is this disconnect, and he's definitely lower on the pecking order, even though he and Sir Kay are roughly the same age. And Wart ends up growing up alongside him, like they do their education together, but Wart also knows that he's never gonna be the knight, even though he really wants to be. The best he's gonna get is being squire. I loved seeing all the elements of the medieval society, from like all the different, like the guy who takes care of the hawks and messing around in the kitchen, and like Wart's first teacher that they end up scaring off. That was really the part of the book that I was more interested in. There's philosophical discussions in here, which were kind of interesting. Also, sometimes they go on too long. Like, there'll be entire pages that are just continuous dialogue, and like I'm getting bored. My absolute favorite parts, though, were a couple of the quests that Wart goes on. At one point, he goes into the woods and he runs into Robin Wood, who is Robin Hood, and his gang of merry men, and how they're camped out in the forest. And it was at first a little bit weird to have King Arthur and Robin Hood combined, but also that ended up being some of my favorite chapters. It does sometimes get very sexist. Maid Marian has all these awesome attributes, but also they make sure that we know that Robin Hood is definitely better than her still. And Morgan Le Fay, who is one of my favorite characters in Arthurian legend, I didn't enjoy the way that she showed up in here. Kind of with not a lot of power and being not as interesting. So That also didn't help. And then we do eventually get to the point where Arthur pulls the sword out of the stone. It's the sword in the stone. That shouldn't be too shocking. And becomes king. But by that point, I was really kind of just done with this book. It's really just all over the place. Arthur has all kinds of weird adventures. There's too much repetition, and they're constantly changing into animals, and kind of just. I wasn't having fun with this book. I was slogging, like I was just barely getting through the end of the story. Um, Definitely not my favorite. So The Sword in the Stone was like 200 pages. This entire book is like 630. So I'm not exactly eager to rush into finishing this series. Um, on the whole, I gave it 3 stars. I think this is definitely a book that's more geared towards kids. Um, and if I had read it when I was younger, I might have enjoyed it more. But reading this as an adult, I wasn't digging it. And maybe even if I had read it at like a different time, like right now, I'm just not not what I want. I do really love the Disney adaptation, um, the movie from the '60s, which is one of the reasons why I picked up this book in the first place. But it's not that much fun. There are humorous parts in here, but there just isn't as much fun in here, and I didn't like it much. No, so let me know in the comments below if you guys have read The Sword in the Stone and what you thought of it, what you think of the movie. Yeah, so peace out. I love you guys and keep reading. Bye.